water everywhere and not a drop to drink. And I really have so much respect for the people who decided to show their images and who were brave enough to just pick two. I think it's not the easiest thing in making decisions when we're photographers and we have so much work, and to just all of a sudden say, these are the two that I want to talk about. Maybe not my favorites, but they're the two that I want to share. And I truly appreciate that from everyone. And I think we should just get started because I think everybody really wants to see water, water. So we're ready.
Okay.
Anna, welcome.
Hi everyone. It's 1 a.m. Maybe that's why my voice is faint. But to the point, a few words about me. I'm a photographer drawn to capturing subtle details and reflections. And my work often explores how water, glass, and mirrors transform reality into, I would say, layer abstract compositions. I enjoy experimenting with natural light, with perspective, to create images that blur the line between observation and interpretation. And this photograph that I've chosen has been taken in Chestnut Hill in Pastorius Park. It focuses on reflection in water. And I was inspired by how ripples distort clarity, yet they reveal new shapes and dimensions. And I've chosen this image because I think it invites the viewer to pause and notice and also interpret what lies beneath and beyond the surface. Um, and I find inspiration in photographers who experiment with abstraction and perception, such as Minor White, for example, and who he emphasized the spirituality in photography. And I'm also inspired by other artists who use reflections to explore alternate realities. And as far as technique is concerned, I used a combination of natural light
I'm
and
just going to be a little rude because we need to make sure we have time for everybody.
uh,
So
all
I'm
right.
just
So
gonna,
let me end. That is just the end. Let me end by the quote that photography is an art of observation. It's about finding something interesting in an ordinary place. That is a quote by Ehrlich. And that's what reflections allow me to do, turning ordinary pond into a world of patterns, colors, and emotions. Thank you.
thank you.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is David Rodstein. I'm an eclectic photographer, and I basically shoot moments that I want to remember and I want to capture. And I have a fine arts background as well as an industrial design background, so I tend to compose a lot of my pictures subconsciously. And studying the painting, I learn in post-processing, changing the composition, changing the whole feel by adjusting the colors, the brightness, the contrast, and the highlights. And with sculpture, I'm taking a 2D representation of a two-dimensional object or space. This is the Queen Mary 2 coming into New York Harbor at 5 a.m. after 7 days at sea. We're all very excited. It's always an exciting moment to me. And what I did was I wanted to capture the Verrazano Bridge and I wanted to capture the ship at the same time so you have context. And the harbor pilot that's sailing away distorts the water and the reflection. And the photo just that moment had a specific feel. And this photo actually sold at a show. Any comments? You can always write it in the side. They have okay, the next one is this is on the Queen Mary 2 in a storm across the ocean. It's a violent, cold ocean. You know, you see great forms in the waves as a wake of the ship, and also the how the sea how the sea goes, the way the wave formations, and basically it's cold out there, it's windy out there, it's hostile out there, and I'm warm inside the ship, sitting comfortably and seeing all of this through glass, totally protected from the elements outside. Any comments, you can also write them on the side too. They have a
Would you just tell me what equipment you used on that last picture there?
okay, both of these I used a Google Pixel 6a smartphone. It's a mid-level. They get better all the time. And when I'm traveling, I really don't want to carry the DSLR around anymore because I blend in with the phone. And what the phone does, it has all these smart features such as night sight. It can take night photos without a tripod because what the Google does and the others, it sees the view in the CCD. It takes the picture over a course of anywhere from like a quarter to 3 seconds, and it also fits all the images together. I think it's called image stacking. So it's a clear picture that has the exposure of what the CCD is. It's AI assist, but it works very well. When I toured the SS United States, for example, there's no way I could use a flash and get good pictures. Bounce flashes, dark ceilings, no room for a tripod, no electricity to put up lights. So that's what I used. And unless I'm printing very, very big, the smartphone does very, very well. But I do think the DSLR, and I've just been going up some stuff I did with a Pocket Digital from 2005, there's a bit more warmth and a little bit more depth to them because I think the phones tend to over sharpen. But it's gotten to the point now that I don't need to bring the DSLR when I travel, and I do that on a lot of my trips. And also, if I'm out and about, I pick up captures when I'm not expecting it, when I'm not, because I don't carry the camera to the supermarket. And I've gotten some really good stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay, this is my photograph. It's mine. I went to Argentina and Chile in February and March to visit my niece, and this is my niece's daughter. So there's the sand at the bottom, and then the rest, as you can see, is reflection. I photograph what strikes me, and something about this scene did strike me, and I really like the reflection, but I also like the ripples, just like Anna talked about the ripples and what the ripples do to the water. So it was her feet making, some movement in the water, the ripples, and I just really liked the scene. It was a really magical beach. It was in Chile, and the beach is called Trill Trill. Okay.
Beautiful.
It reminds me, that one reminds me of a picture that Sally Mann might have taken.
Oh, check that out. So then, and the announcement said reflections and abstract, and so I did pick one of each of those, and this is my abstract type photo. And this is the Great Falls in Paterson, New Jersey. It was that really Arctic cold day, and there was lots of freezing of the water, but this is just a piece. And I really was drawn to the shapes of the ice at the bottom, as you can see, were pretty strange shapes. And then this was part of a waterfall coming down.
Beautiful.
Okay, that's it.
Hello, everyone. Gene Renzi here, and the next two you will see are darkroom printed silver prints, 20 by 20 images, infrared medium format, and This one, of course, if you know, this is the waterworks at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And if you know infrared, when you use the R72 filter with it, you get all the red out and water becomes black, skies get black, and foliage gets white. So this is the waterworks. You could skip to the next one. This is Tyler Falls in Newtown, PA. And same infrared 20 by 20 medium format, tripod, both exposures are 1/2 to 1 second. Once I meter, I back up 5, 6 stops, bracket, and of course use the tripod and filter, and this is what you get when you use the infrared. Any questions from anybody?
Hello. I sort of just want to let people watch this. It's a little bit choppy for me. Can you guys see it better, or is it choppy?
Okay,
Because I insisted on showing 1080p video. These are 2 video clips. This first one is from Middle Torch Key, and I hope it looks smoother to you guys. But even if it doesn't, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you can see both of these on my Instagram. I mean, with a soundtrack, the soundtrack's not that important. But basically, what you're witnessing here, even if it's choppy, you're actually seeing the tide come in and it's overtaking a road. So it's sort of like evidence of sea level rise. And I guess if I'm allowed to choose 2, I want to think, okay, well, what am I juxtaposing here? Both of these are water in places that are naturally beautiful. Yeah. At some point, I would like to, if I ever catch you in person, I'll show you the clips again. But I still hope I can convey the beauty and the serenity of the places I was in. And in a way, it kind of allows me to circumvent the only 2 entries rule. So each of these choppy frames is like a picture. But okay, this one here, this is much closer to where I live. That is the Chesapeake Bay, and I am hiking in the Sassafras natural wildlife management area down to the Chesapeake Bay, and that's actually right near a place called Lloyd's Creek. That's where I learned how to swim. So when people ask me where I'm from, I say, well, depending on who, I'll say, well, I'm from the Chesapeake area, or I'm from Philadelphia, but I am in a way from here. I almost don't want to talk because the serenity is just such a beautiful place. It was just so beautiful. I just want to capture the silence and the serenity and the beauty of nature that was there. So I hope I was able to do that, even if the quality of this presentation was choppy. I wanted the video to be sent in full quality, and if anybody wants to see it another time, I'm happy to show it again.
This is John Clarke, and this photo, earlier in the year I was in Paris, and this is the tip of the Ile Sauté at sunset, and young people congregate at the along the river banks in a kind of celebration of the end of the day and hang out with friends. I've concentrate on doing street photos, black and white street photos, and they always include people doing something. This image is of the Luxembourg Gardens, and if you know that park, there's a very large boat pond in the middle, and kids congregate and sail their boats around, and it produces what I think are interesting street images. That's all. That's the two photos.
Hi, everybody. My name's Martin, and both of my images were shot at the Dilworth Plaza in Philadelphia. And what came to mind when we were talking about water was I immediately thought of how the children that I've seen in the plaza are really just enjoying the summer and the fountains that are there. You can turn to the next one. They were shot at different times, but I just enjoyed sort of going out and hanging out and watching everybody. So
So hello, before you hit play, hold on, can you pause that? I'm going to be sharing two videos today. And what I've been doing is trying to frame the beginning and the end over a period of about 30 seconds. So from one picture morphing into another picture. So the beginning and the end really are, stand on their own. And these, of course, are drone shots. And let's see if we have any luck with the smoothness. So thank you for that introduction there.
Nice.
And just with a nod to Jean's picture of the same subject matter for the most part, maybe we should have drone photography with infrared. Okay, now this is the Shofuso Garden in Fairmount Park, if anybody knows it. And again, it's a 30-second starting image, morphing into a closing image. So that's choppy, of course.
Is that the Japanese house?
That is the Japanese house in Fairmount Park, yes.
I haven't been there in so many years.
So that's all I have. Glad to share with everybody.
Very nice.
Yep.
Nice.
So this is Ray Schneider. This is my first meeting. Thanks for having me. A few years ago, a friend of mine wondered aloud what a psychologist would say after looking at some of my pictures, like the ones I'm going to show tonight. And I smiled and I wondered myself. There's no doubt in my mind that our choice of subjects says something about us as photographers. We're each attracted to particular subjects, and I think for a reason. I like the kind of pictures represented by my two submissions this month because they reflect some of my feelings about life in a noisy, crazy, crowded world, and they reflect my love of water. It seems like pictures that show people as individuals, not as members of a herd, are
Mhm.
what I like to take pictures of, that show people being with their own thoughts and maybe just with people around them that are special to them, that elicit calmness and maybe even some contemplation on the part of the viewer.
Mhm.
And I seem to like pictures that can be interpreted in more than one way, that have ambiguity, as Sally Mann would say. I recognize that some viewers might find my two pictures energizing or empowering, but others might find them depressing and isolating. Which leads me to my last thought on these pictures, that the reviewer always finishes our photographs, that we can never really know how our viewers will take in our pictures, and that's okay. This picture was taken a couple of weeks back when I was in Norway, north of the Arctic Circle, on a beach, believe it or not. Small groups of people all separated from each other, going about their individual lives, appearing to be unaware of each other on the beach. It gave me quite the surreal feeling. My wife happens to be the second person from the left walking on the beach. You can go to the next picture if you like. This picture was taken down in Strathmere Beach in New Jersey at the end of a long day, and it spoke to me. When I look at the picture, I always wish I was one of those folks on the chairs. Funny thing is that I've had people look at this picture and be depressed, asking me why I would show such a sad picture. They couldn't imagine the idea of being so isolated on a beach and actually enjoying it. And all I could think of is I wish I was one of those people in the chair. It reminded me of how important it is to find space in this crowded world to take care of ourselves while we live among the masses.
Okay, now it's my turn to talk about my pictures. So the first one was taken in Girona, Spain. We took a trip to Barcelona and we took a side trip. And I just liked the way this brightly colored building was reflected in the water. And that's like a river that's going through Girona. And so it was just an amazing, that was a side trip and that was a fun trip. So the other thing is I love zoos and not happy with the Philadelphia Zoo because I feel like they depend more on beer gardens and animatronics and real animals anymore. But this is the Copenhagen Zoo, and I just
Oh,
happened to catch the bear exhibit. So this is in Copenhagen, and that's a much better zoo.
what country was the first? What country was the first view?
Spain,
Oh, Spain. Oh, okay.
Girona, Spain.
Hmm.
In my last picture, I cheated because I put this together. This is actually the plane. I'm in the window seat of the airplane as we're landing in Barcelona. I'm using my iPhone. The iPhone's against the glass, and I'm just going click, 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 click until it's, spray and pray method. But I like the way this one came out with the composition. Barcelona is a major port, and so here's a cargo ship. And I cannot tell you if it's leaving or coming, but it's just a cargo ship. And that's Barcelona, Spain. Same trip as the first picture, except this was the arrival day.